How is it going, Bears fans? Welcome back to another episode of the Bear Down podcast, where we talk everything Bears every day of the week. Today, in our Week 2 installment of Fan Mail Friday, we are going to be answering your guys' questions prior to the Bears versus Giants matchup this weekend. I am your host, Chris Maltby, and today I am joined with my co-host, Jaylen McClinton. Jaylen, how's it going, man? This is the third time we've recorded in the last 24 hours.
Man, it's going good. The grind never stops, so can't complain at all, right?
No, cannot complain at all. And before we get into these Bears questions, what's your prediction for Bengals-Browns tonight? Obviously, the viewers will know who won the game tomorrow, but I want to know your thoughts. I'm a Bears fan, obviously, but Joe Burrow deserved to win the game against the Chargers last week. They caught him on a stupid pass interference call, or offensive pass interference, against A.J. Green, and their kicker ended up missing basically a cheap shot. And I don't know if he's actually hurt, but he said he was hurt, and that's why he missed the kick. But I want Joe Burrow to get his first one in the NFL. And, that's my prediction. Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. Kicking off Week 2, I think the only appropriate thing is for Joe Burrow to get his first win. And we also saw how sluggish the Browns were last week. So I'm also going to go with the Bengals. I think if you can put the ball in Baker Mayfield's hands and do a good job at covering Jarvis Landry and Odell Beckham, it's definitely a tough task. But I think the Bengals can get this one done. But, we're either going to be getting praised for being right about this one tomorrow, or we're going to be getting some hate in the comments from Browns fans. So we'll see how that one goes. But we are here today answering your guys' questions for Bears versus Giants. We ask these questions on our YouTube community tab. Also, our Instagram fan page is down in the description. So if you do want to be featured in a future video, do us a favor. You can check on normally Wednesday or Thursday on our social media as well as our YouTube community tab. And we're always asking for questions. So let's hop right into it. Today's first question comes from Philip_Roz on Instagram. The question asks, do you think the Bears will be able to stop Saquon Barkley in the same way that the Steelers were able to? Jaylen, we obviously saw Saquon Barkley, 15 rushes for 6 yards, something that you're rarely ever going to see out of him, 0.4 yards per carry in Week 1. Definitely a sluggish start for the Giants' O-line and the Giants' run game. So what do you think? Do you think the Bears will be able to slow down Saquon or at least be able to neutralize him in Week 2?
Yeah, I don't think we'll do what the Steelers did and hold him under 10 yards and average less than a carry, per carry, obviously. But I think if we want to be able to win the game, we have to. We can't let Tim do what Adrian Peterson did for us and almost have 100 yards on the ground game, because that opens up the pass game, and that's something that they really couldn't do. They really couldn't do because the running game obviously wasn't working. They had to rely on Daniel Jones to help them win the game. He obviously couldn't do that, throwing 2 interceptions that really cost them. So if we want to win the game, we have to stop Saquon Barkley. But I don't think we're going to do what the Steelers did, but I don't expect them to have over 100 yards. I would say we hold them at least to like 50 or 40 or something like that.
You know what? I'm going to have to go ahead and agree with you, Jaylen. Saquon Barkley did say in a press conference that he's ready to bounce back from a poor Week 1 performance. But, the Bears' defense did look a little sluggish last week, too, if I'm being completely honest. I said it earlier, Matthew Stafford played very good. But the run game for the Lions definitely got going, and it's something that the Bears are going to have to prevent if they want to stop Saquon Barkley. Detroit rushed for 138 total yards. I can tell that this team misses Eddie Goldman. Bilal Nichols, it's not a knock against him whatsoever, but the Bears are going to have to try and contain Saquon. No, I don't think they'll do what the Steelers were able to do whatsoever. I do think they'll be able to keep him under, hopefully, 100, 120 yards, because if he can gash us for more than that, things could get quite ugly. Next question, and this is another interesting one. This one comes from Charlie_05_07 on Instagram. He asks, what do you think will be the touchdown to interception ratio for both Mitchell Trubisky and Daniel Jones? I'm going to answer this one first, Jaylen. You can save your answer. Look, Mitchell Trubisky, I think it's another successful game for him. We saw the Giants defense allow 3 touchdowns and 100-plus
passer rating to Ben Roethlisberger last week. Not comparing Roethlisberger with Trubisky whatsoever, but it shows that this Giants defense, especially the secondary, has some holes. Obviously, they're missing first or second round draft pick Xavier McKinney, who's had surgery and is out for a couple of weeks. I think the Bears will be able to pick apart this secondary a little bit better than they were able to the Lions, at least in the first half. A couple Lions went down in the second half. But you know what? I'm confident that Trubisky will be able to get it done this week. I'm going to go 3 touchdowns, 1 interception for Trubisky. You know what? I think he'll be throwing a little bit more in this game, but I would still love to see the run game get incorporated. I think it's going to be a big day for Allen Robinson, as well as Anthony Miller. Pro Football Focus actually put out Week 2 strength of schedule for wide receivers, a.k.a. who will have the easiest matchups against the defense that they're going against. And the Bears' wide receivers ranked 3rd, so definitely an opportunity for the passing game to step up, and I think Trubisky answers the call. In regards to Jones, I'm going to go 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. You know what? You get the good and the bad when it comes to Daniel Jones. He's a player that has shown his promise in the past. Obviously, a former first-round pick out of Duke, an ACC guy just like Trubisky, who arguably, too, was also chosen a little bit high. But you know what? You see the good and the bad out of Daniel Jones. We saw the good, the bad, and the ugly out of him a couple of days ago. I think he turns the ball over twice. I don't know if they're both interceptions. I'm going to say they're interceptions. He had a fumble issue last year, was sacked 38 times, also fumbled 18 times, which is the 5th most in NFL history in a season. But I think he throws 2 interceptions. Maybe we get a fumble out of him. In the Bears' 2019 19-14 win over the Giants, we remember that Khalil Mack forced a fumble on Jones, and Nick Williams picked it up at the 6-yard line. So I'm going to go 3-1 for Trubisky and 2-2 for Daniel Jones. What do you think, Jaylen? What's the touchdown to interception ratio for both the starting quarterbacks this weekend?
So, we played them last season. I wanted to go and look back at, how Trubisky played against the Giants secondary and stuff like that. Now, he ended up throwing 2 interceptions. The first interception to Alex Ogletree was just a great catch in the in the red zone. He was trying to throw it to Anthony Miller in the back of the end zone, and Alex Ogletree just jumped up and made a play. And then the second pass interception he threw was just a deep ball to Javon Wims and got intercepted by the safety, Jordan Love, or I think that's his name. So those are throws that he can easily fix, and he knows not to do that this game. Against the Lions, it's some throws that he probably shouldn't have made that almost ended up being interceptions, but they weren't, because they either dropped it or they just missed the opportunity to catch it. So if he can come into this game realizing that if we want to win this game and if he wants to keep his starting spot, his mistakes have to be very limited. This Giants secondary is not that good. They're a first-round draft pick. They just cut him due to all his legal issues, but they did sign Logan Ryan, who was a very solid corner in the NFL. But I still feel like our receivers have a great chance to beat their corners, have a lot of opportunities to score as long as Mitchell can get on the ball. So for Mitchell Trubisky, I want to give him 3 touchdowns again this game, just because I feel like this secondary is not the greatest. And then for Daniel Jones, I'm gonna say 2 touchdowns as well. We might see a turnover from him because he threw a lot of turnovers and fumbled a lot last season. So I'm gonna say 2 touchdowns for Daniel Jones and 3 touchdowns for Mitchell Trubisky.
What do you think about interceptions?
I'm not gonna predict Mitchell throwing an interception. I just can't do it.
Okay.
But for Daniel Jones, he might throw one.
Okay.
Hopefully, or not. Hopefully for him, not for us, that he can realize that those turnovers he made last game, he can't do it again. But I'm gonna just say 1 to Daniel Jones for Daniel Jones. Excuse me.
Yeah, maybe Jalen Johnson will be able to get the first interception of his career. But heading on with the questions, this one's from _Ari Libby. This question asks, is Quinn going to play in this game, and what type of effect could he have if he plays? Now, personally, I got to be honest with you. I don't think Robert Quinn plays this week. I think the Bears go with the conservative option here. If he's not a full go in practice tomorrow, I probably don't want him playing personally. As much as I want him to be in there, I want him to be healthy, and it seems like a weird ankle situation going on for him, something that might be sustaining throughout the year. So I want him to come back at 100%. But look, if Robert Quinn is a full go tomorrow in practice and he does play, I think he could have a massive impact on this game. we saw Daniel Jones get sacked 3 times against the Steelers. We also saw Saquon Barkley with 0.4 yards per carry. Their offensive line got bullied, and I think if Robert Quinn can come back, it takes attention off of Akeem Hicks and Khalil Mack, who were solid in Week 1, but definitely could improve. Also, not having Eddie Goldman there definitely hurt, but I think Robert Quinn could have a massive effect on this game if he can come back and play a solid ball game. We signed him for a reason, to be able to take advantage of those one-on-ones. If he's healthy and ready to go, that's what I expect him to do. That's what Leonard Floyd couldn't do in Chicago, and I think Robert Quinn will be able to get that done. He's a familiar foe to the NFC East rival in the Giants. He had 11.5 sacks last year for the Dallas Cowboys, so I think Robert Quinn, if he plays, which I'm not quite too sure about, that he will have a pretty big impact on this game. So, Jaylen, what do you think? Do you predict Robert Quinn playing after being limited in practice these last 2 days? And if he does play, the second part of that question is, what type of impact do you see him having?
I actually think he plays this week, just him being, limited compared to last week where he didn't even practice at all. So I expect him to be back this game. I doubt he's 100%, but I'd rather have him, at, say 70% than not playing at all, because he's going to help our pass rush. We barely got to Matthew Stafford last game. We only got 1 sack, and that was Akeem Hicks, which was actually a big sack because that pushed them out of field goal range and put us in good field position to score. So I say he plays and, he's able to help Khalil Mack, in the pass rush and stuff like that. Khalil got held multiple times last game, and none of them got called. I don't know how, because it was so blatant that he was getting held. But I predict Robert Quinn to play this game and help the pass rush, definitely, especially because the Giants' offensive line is not very good at all. Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley were, as soon as the ball was hyped, it was somebody in their face.
Yeah, so obviously Parth isn't here for this episode today, but he still did help us out and get some questions from his fan page, Trubisky Nation. So we're going to head over to his questions now. This first one's from sgood_16. Who do you guys predict will have more yards in this game? David Montgomery or Saquon Barkley? You know what? I'm going to go with a bold prediction here. I'm going to say David Montgomery. I believe that this Bears' offensive line has improved, and I think they're going to get the job done here. Matt Nagy realizes how good they were in the Week 1 matchup, and I think he commits to the run a little bit more, and I think the Bears' defense does do a good job slowing down Saquon Barkley. So I'm actually going to go with David Montgomery in this one. We saw him rush 13 times for 64 yards in Week 1 with 4.9 yards per average. We saw the Bears as a whole rush for almost 150 yards, just 1 yard shy. And they had the most expected rushing yards per attempt in Week 1 per NFL Next Gen stats. What that means is the Bears' offense created the most opportunity for rushers at the moment of handoff. I think Juan Castillo, his effect is really coming into play. The Giants' D-line is good, have some good players like Leonard Williams, but you know what? I still think the Bears can get it done. You could tell against Detroit that they were missing Damone Harrison, someone who was so great against the run for them. But this Giants' D-line is a little bit of a tougher task, but I think the Bears can pull it out, and I think David Montgomery can have a good day if the Bears commit to the run more. So I'm going to say David Montgomery actually ends this game with more rushing yards than Saquon Barkley. Jaylen, I know that is a bold statement. I might be being a little bit of a Bears optimist, a little bit of a homer there, but who do you think has more rushing yards in this game, Montgomery or obviously the highly touted player in Saquon Barkley?
I actually don't think it's much of a bold prediction. Benny Snell, he plays for the Steelers, had over 110 rushing yards or something like that on not that many carries. So you can run the ball on them. You can run the ball on them as long as you stay consistent with it. I'm not worried about that anymore because Nagy stayed consistent to the run game. He was running the ball. He didn't do it. He really didn't do it in the red zone, but for most of the game, he was running the ball and it was actually working. So I'm gonna say David Montgomery here too. I was surprised that we really didn't give him the ball. In the later half of the game, we were down 17, and in that type of situation, that's when it's time to pass it. Which thank God it worked for us. But I expected David Montgomery to get way more carries than he did. They were basically splitting it between him, Tariq, and Cordero. But in this game, I expect David Montgomery to have a bigger game than he did last year.
Yes,
it is.
Yeah, that would definitely be big time. The Bears are hopefully going to try and incorporate the run as much as possible. I've said it throughout months and months and months. A good run game is a quarterback's best friend. If you have a defense worried about the run, it opens up the pass game, and the Giants secondary seems to have some holes. So a good run game, overall, a good offensive game plan could definitely help the Bears here. And David Montgomery succeeding definitely is something that could help us out in regards to winning this game. One more question from Trubisky Nation's poll. This is from Jay Brown, 103518. He asks, do you think our defense will bounce back this game? The game against Detroit wasn't incredibly great for us. Look, I'm going to go ahead and agree with you. I think the Bears' defense did slack a little bit in the game against Detroit. I also think if you look across the league, a lot of teams did look a step slow, but we were playing Matthew Stafford, and now we're playing Daniel Jones. You take a look at the Bears' allowed yards in Week 1, 288 passing yards and also 138 rushing yards. I believe that is 416 or 426 yards. Don't trust me on my math. I'm a communications major in college. But I do think the Bears' defense steps up a little bit more this week. We saw silent games from a lot of players on defense. We saw arguably bad games from a couple of players on the Bears' defense that we normally expect to play well. Danny Trevathan's got to step up. Deshaun Gibson, someone else who was pretty silent. Bilal Nichols, if he had a good game, that would surely help us. But overall, I think the Bears match up defensively against the Giants much better than they did against the Lions. Obviously, if they can contain Saquon, I think they'll be able to get it done here. But I do think the defense will bounce back. Robert Quinn coming back could be huge in regards for that. So I'm going to go ahead and say yes, I think the Bears' defense does bounce back here in Week 2 and pitch more of a shutout type game than they did against the Detroit Lions, because obviously we dug a hole and had to climb out on offense. I definitely think we don't dig ourselves that big of a hole, and I think the defense 100,000% steps up in this game and is able to slow down Daniel Jones and co. Jaylen, what do you think? How does the defense do in this game? Do they have a bounce-back performance in comparison to their Week 1 start?
I definitely feel like we have a bounce-back performance. A lot of people are saying that we should have lost that game because DeAndre Swift got wide open, with like 6 seconds left. So I know the defense is upset about that. We haven't given up that many yards in a long time, almost 400 yards or something like that, in the ground and in the air. And that's something we can't allow if we want to win games. Our defense is supposed to be the strongest part of our team, and the fact that our strongest part of our team almost lost us the game after our offense came back is something I know that they're upset about. That Chuck Pagano, he definitely wants to, get more pressure on the quarterback, not allow him to have time to make certain reads and, make passes and stuff like that. So, especially against a weak offensive line and Daniel Jones, who's still a second-year quarterback, and you can still get to him with pressure, and he likes to turn over the ball and stuff like that. This defense is definitely going to have a big game.
Yeah. So we've got one or two more questions. We're heading over to the YouTube community tab now. This first one's from Kavan Puri. He asks, what did you see from the Bears' O-line in Week 1 that allowed them to be successful, and how can they keep that success going? I think the first way to answer that question for me, and it's shocking to say this, is Germain Ifedi. I actually got the chance to access the All-22 from the game against the Lions. It's the coaches' clips. It's basically the entire game played back from a higher angle so you can see what's going on. Look, with Harry Hiestand, I think something that the Bears did a lot more in the run game last year is pick and pull offensive linemen, try to move them around in run schemes. And this year, it seems like they were going for more of a tactic with Juan Castillo, just a straight-up block and let the running back find the gaps and have him be patient. So, you know what? I think Germain Ifedi, his addition, obviously, we're only 1 week in, but the offensive line saw 0 penalties in Week 1, no false starts, no holdings. And I think overall, what made the offensive line better is discipline. Plus, a couple new additions. I think there's better depth on the offensive line than we saw in 2019. So, and I do think they'll be able to keep that success going. Jaylen mentioned it, but Benny Snell rushed for 113 yards last week. So I do believe that they'll be able to keep that success going, not only in the run game, but also in the pass blocking game. It wasn't incredibly pretty, but I do believe that they'll be able to keep it up heading forward, at least better than from what we saw in 2019. Jaylen, you got anything to add to that, or did I hit it on all cylinders?
You mainly got it. I was also shocked that Jermaine Ifedi was a huge part of our run game, and especially because I didn't really have high expectations for him, and for just the one game we played so far, he blew my expectations out the water. So I'm definitely glad that he was able to so far to break expectations for what a lot of Bears fans expected from him.
Yeah, and we've got one more question now, the last one of the episode. Obviously, we won't make our predictions until tomorrow in our pregame show. But this one comes from the YouTube community tab as well. This is from Tyler Winslow. He asks, does Cole Kmet get more involved this week, and could Mooney have a touchdown this week with the favorable matchups against the Giants' corners? You know what? We've been talking about rookies all week on this channel. Recently made a video on Jalen Johnson as well as one about Darnell Mooney. I do think Darnell Mooney actually can score this week. Matt Nagy said that his production increases as the season moves on. I hope he sticks to that. I hope Mooney gets on the field. We saw how elusive he is and how much he can change a game just in his 3 catches for 38 yards last week. That speed is absolutely killer. So I think I'd give him an outside chance to score. Obviously, Trubisky's first couple reads normally are Anthony Miller, Jimmy Graham, and obviously Allen Robinson. I think it's going to be a big game for Robinson with all the drama that has been stirred up around his contract situation this week. But I do think Darnell Mooney could take advantage of the favorable matchups that he has this week against the Giants. In regards to Cole Kmet, I do think he gets more involved this week. We saw, I think, only 1 target last week, 0 catches. You know what? I said earlier I was watching the All-22s. Kmet was pretty solid in blocking. You can't really hate on him there, but I would love to see the Bears use him as a red zone threat, especially in Week 2 against the Giants linebacking core that didn't look incredible in Week 1. So you know what? We saw Jimmy Graham was able to get it done after a slow first half start in Detroit. But hopefully Cole Kmet can get more involved. I do believe he will. And I would hope in this game that he can get his first career catch, and who knows, maybe even his first career touchdown. So, Jaylen, final question of Week 2's Fan Mail Friday. Does Cole Kmet get more involved this week, and could you see Darnell Mooney scoring a touchdown in Week 2?
So I felt like Cole Kmet could have his first touchdown against the Lions. I don't know if it was either a miscommunication and he ran the wrong route, or just Trubisky threw a bad ball. He was I guess it was like a curl route, like he was right in front of the red zone and Trubisky just missed him, and then he got laid out. But I definitely feel like he can get involved more into this offense. The soaking the tight ends, we saw Trubisky use Jimmy Graham a lot. He got a couple targets here and there. I definitely feel like Jimmy Graham could have had a couple touchdowns, but it was a lot of miscommunication, and you're going to see that with no preseason. But I definitely feel like he can get his first touchdown. Hopefully he gets his first catch. And then with Darnell Mooney, him and Trubisky already kind of have a connection. He got targeted 3 times and caught all 3 balls, and made a couple moves. Both times he got the ball and showed a lot of flashes, and you can tell he's really fast. And I definitely feel like he can get a touchdown on. I was like you said, I was watching some of the All-22 film, and on the route that on the play that Trubisky threw it to Jimmy Graham, and Jimmy Graham missed time to catch. Darnell Mooney was wide open after
smoked the defender.
He broke the dude's ankles, and I'm pretty sure Mitchell didn't see him, and he was just he already predetermined that he was going to throw the balls to Jimmy Graham, who also got open. So, you can't be really mad at it. So, I definitely feel like if Mooney can can do that consistently and get more touches, I expect Mooney to have a big year, especially being a 5th-round draft pick. I'm really excited to see what he can do this season in his offense.
Yeah, we saw Mooney was able to take advantage of his matchups, obviously against Lions defenders like Justin Coleman, but also when he got deeper into the secondary against guys like Tracy Walker and Duron Harmon. So he'll definitely have some opportunities here, hopefully, to be able to take over again and just create matchup nightmares, or at least be a worry on the field to help get someone else open. But I think we all can agree that we hope that he can finally get in the end zone here and reach pay dirt. That would surely be nice. But thank you guys so much for tuning into this episode of Fan Mail Friday. We're just about closing out our Week 2 coverage. Obviously, now all we have is our pregame and our postgame show. So before we go, I would like to say do us a favor and look for that, because that'll be out tomorrow. And then obviously the post-game show should be just after the game on Sunday. If you want more content from us, you can head over to our website, beardown.com. We're posting columns there just about every day or every other day, getting up a ton of good content for you guys. So if you want more content from us, you can definitely go over to our website and find some great stuff on there. If you want to find us on Instagram and Twitter, where we post a lot of sneak peeks of podcasts, we also ask you guys for some advice as to what to record on. We do giveaways every once in a while. You can find us on both Instagram and Twitter at Bear Down, and the links to me and Jaylen's fan pages are in the description. Jaylen McClinton, it's been a long day of recording. I would like to let you know that Cody Parkey did just hit an extra point for the Cleveland Browns to go up 7-0 after hitting the crossbar and the post twice in pregame warm-ups. So any thoughts on Parkey kicking for the Browns, and any last words before we sign out here?
He doesn't play for the Bears anymore, so hopefully he doesn't miss any kicks for any other teams. I would feel bad. I don't know how he keeps getting an NFL job, but hey, I can't hate on it, but yeah, good for him.
Yeah, good for him. I'm going to go over under 3 days until he's unemployed, but hey, we'll see if he can stick around for a couple weeks in Cleveland. Seems like the perfect team for him to be on, if I'm being completely honest. But that'll pretty much do it for this one, guys. Thank you so much for the support recently. If you made it this far in the video and haven't already dropped a like, do us a favor. It helps us out a lot. Let's see if we can hit 50 likes on this podcast. You guys have been clicking that like button so much recently, so we're going to keep putting out like goals for you guys as long as you keep liking the videos. And then if you do want Bears content every day of the week, the grind to 3,000 subscribers is on, so click that red button to join our squad. Also click the bell for notifications whenever we post. Once again, my name is Chris Malpe. It's been an absolute pleasure, as it always is. You guys have been absolutely loving the videos recently, and we're more than happy to keep bringing them to you guys. So Bears fans, that's pretty much it for this one. Do us a favor, as always, stay safe and bear down. We'll see you in the next one. Peace.